DIY home studio vocal booth. Best home studio vocal booth solution. Vocal booth versus control room vocals. Gear sluts. Well, luckily the two of us don't have to fight our way through gear sluts and all the keyboard warriors. I'm actually just going to decide in this video right now. Is it better for me to record vocals in this room with all my other stuff? I have guitars and drum kits and everything in here. Or should I have this dedicated vocal booth room right in front of me? It's like a 5x5 room, and I'm going to go ahead and try to decide if my vocals sound better in there or out here in the open with maybe a little extra acoustic insulation and stuff up. Before the video gets started though, please do go ahead and smash that like button. Maybe even share the video with some of your friends who are still recording vocals in their closet. That's definitely a no-go. But if you don't do that, just hit the like button, maybe even hit the subscribe button if you want to see videos from me in the future. Let's go ahead and get started with the video. Okay, so like I just mentioned, I used to when I was in college, I totally just had like a closet with hangers and stuff, and my clothes were hanging up, and I would just hang some clothes in the back to cover up the wall, and then I have clothes hanging on each side, and I would throw a microphone in this little cubby that I would make of clothes in my closet. And to me, it sounded extremely dead, and I mean, that's kind of ideal, kind of what you want, desirable in a way. However, the vocals just, I didn't know back then, but now if I were to do that, I would be able to notice that the vocals sound extremely boxy and there's like a ton of throat voice going on. So really just depending on the type of music you're making, really depends on if you want like a really tight vocal sound or if you want something that's a little more live. But I mean, really in like professional studios and stuff, their vocal booths are probably rooms the size of this, if not maybe just a little bit smaller. It's not a small room by any means though. However, I was Googling some stuff on the internet earlier, and I saw that, most vocal booths are somewhere between like 3x4 to 4x6. And I have a room right here that's like 5.5 feet by 5.5 feet. So I'm gonna see what happens if I treat this room and try to do some vocals in there. I'm not a vocalist, so the examples I do probably won't be as ideal as if I were to have someone screaming really just loud vocals in there. However, as of right now, I am kind of leaning towards recording vocals in my control room, live room, whatever you want to say, and maybe just setting up some extra acoustic panels beside the vocalist or maybe right behind the vocalist, just depending on the mic that I'm using. That may help reduce reflections more so than any other scenario. However, I do really love the idea of having this dedicated room for a microphone at all times, and it just sits there and I don't even have to think about it. I don't have to set anything up. Maybe some of the concerns that people voice with comb filtering and early reflection points and stuff like that, that may be a little overhyped. We're gonna go ahead and see though what we can work with and what we can't work with. This is supposed to be my vocal booth. Let's make it happen. Okay, so this room is basically completely bare. We have one panel right here. I intend to temporarily hang some of my other panels that I have throughout the room in this particular room to see if some treatment in this small room will help at all. But yeah, no, I'm testing in this little closet space. Can be a vocal booth, possibly, with no treatment. This is prior to a ton of treatment. Okay, so now I'm testing in the vocal booth area with way more treatment. We have 7 panels. Yeah, we have 7 panels up. I do have a smaller one that I could hang right here, and then there may also be room for another cloudish type thing right there. Maybe something right here. If I wanted absolutely dead, that's what I would do. However, I don't know if that's necessarily the best case scenario, and we will talk about that in a minute. Okay, so basically the few prospects I have for a vocal booth, or an area to record vocals more so. The few prospects I have, they each have with them their own concerns that I have towards this situation. So like I said earlier, I used to record vocals in my closet back in college, and that sounded very boxy. Now with my knowledge I have now, that was very boxy. Definitely not an ideal scenario. I have a similar concern with this room that I've just treated. I'm afraid maybe, comb filtering is definitely the thing. First reflection points, basically phase issues where like the reflection and then the actual noise itself kind of semi-cancel one another out. I'm afraid that may happen in that room. There's really no way for me to know right now until I record vocals in there. But based on specifications I found online, it's big enough technically. I do think that recording out in the open right here in this room would be better for reflection points and whatnot. However, I'm concerned that we will get noise from the drums and noise from a ceiling fan that I have right above me if the vocalist gets loud enough. So having a vocal room to itself, I would probably hang a curtain or like a heavy curtain or something in front of the door just to keep it a little more isolated. That actually may be best case scenario. But I went ahead and while I was just kind of doing this whole thing, I went ahead and I constructed the PVC pipe and blanket vocal booth that I used to use back in my last setup. Not only that though, I did a test in that vocal booth, and then I also did a test when I had the rest of my acoustic panels in here. I did a test with only the top blanket on top of the PVC pipe skeleton thing. It'll be maybe a little more open, however, maybe it will stop some reflections from the ceiling fan. That still doesn't fix my snare problem though, because earlier I was kind of just doing some yelling and stuff, even in the isolated vocal room, and I kind of heard some stuff off my drums. So that is definitely a concern of mine. I guess I could move the drums into a different room if I need to. But yeah, go ahead and take a look at these examples from the PVC pipe vocal booth. Okay, you guys can't see me at all, but this is me testing inside the blanket vocal booth. I'm completely covered up in here, and it's dark, but it sounds really, really dead in here. This is a test in the full blanket vocal booth. Okay, and this is a vocal test in the blanket vocal booth with only the ceiling on. I'm trying to cover up the reflections from the ceiling fan. This is a test in the vocal booth skeleton with only the ceiling. Okay, so here we are. Alright, to finally finish up this little test, a little comparison between all the different vocal booth configurations I've done today. I'm in Logic, and I think if there are any problems anywhere, because if you just listen to the differences that I've shown you just prior to this, they may seem a bit negligible, with maybe the exception of the one in just the bare closet. However, once we're like in a mix and we're doing the thing, we're compressing the vocal like crazy, doing some EQ moves, I think that's when we will really see some problems out of it. So I'm in Logic, and I'm just going to compress these vocals like crazy, and I'm going to see if there are any obvious problems between each of the takes. So let's go ahead and hop into Logic. I'm going to first do testing in the bare closet. Okay, so this room is basically completely bare. We have one panel right here. Okay, so even just before even compressing at all, I'm hearing some first reflections on it. It sounds like a very small, like, not a nice little reverb I'm hearing. Right here, I intend to temporarily hang some of my other panels. Alright, so let's grab a compressor. We will do just this UAD LA2A. I'll typically do a LA2A at first, and they have some pretty good presets. Let's listen to the gentle compression that I have throughout the room. In this particular room to see. Yeah, you're starting to hear more room in that than anything. Like, there's an obvious, very short tail to the reverb that I'm hearing. Panel right here. I intend to temporarily hang some of my other panels that I have throughout the room. But yeah, no, I'm testing in this little closet space. Can be a vocal booth with no treatment. This is prior to a ton of treatment. Okay, so yeah, there were just some obvious reflections in that, and it was a bare closet, so why wouldn't there be? Let's go ahead and take a look at the treated booth and see if that's any better. I'm testing in the vocal booth area with way more treatment. We have 7 panels. Yeah, we have 7 panels up. And so this wasn't the best take on my part. I was moving my mouth away from the mic. Okay, so now I'm testing in the vocal booth. So I'm not really hearing nearly as many reflections in that. And obvious, there were no panels, and now there are 7 panels. We will do the same thing. We'll do the LA2A. Hit it with that gentle compression. Okay, so now I'm testing in the vocal booth. Okay. Yeah, let me pull this out a little bit more. But there's like almost no reflection there. Okay, so now I'm testing in the vocal booth area with way more treatment. We have 1. So that's actually totally usable in my mind. I'm not hearing any kind of reflections in that at all. I'm not sure what it would sound like if a vocalist got really loud, and like I said, that's something I'll have to try later with my vocalist, but to me right now, that sounds just fine. I'm definitely okay with that. Let's take a listen to the full blanket. Okay, you guys can't see me at all, but this is me testing inside the blanket vocal booth. And this is definitely the most dead out of all of them so far. Let's take a listen to it through the LA2A. Okay, you guys can't see me at all, but this is me testing inside the blanket vocal booth. I'm completely covered up in here, and it's dark. Okay, you guys can't see me at all, but this is me testing inside the blanket. And I mean, this to me is pretty similar to, I mean, it's really dead, but there's not like an obvious difference between this and the treated booth. Hey, you guys can't see me at all, but so now I'm testing in the vocal booth. If anything, let's turn the gain down on this a little. So now I'm testing in the vocal booth area with. Hey, you guys can't see me at all, but this is me. So if anything, the vocals in the blanket booth just sound a little warmer in my opinion. Okay, so now I'm testing in the vocal booth area. Hey, you guys can't see me at all, but this is me testing inside the blanket vocal booth. This is a test in the full blanket vocal. So yeah, it definitely sounds warmer, but I don't know if I necessarily like it better. Maybe for like a voiceover or something I definitely would, but I mean for like vocals, that low end and low mids may not even be desirable. Alright, let's listen to just the ceiling blanket. And this is a vocal test in the blanket vocal booth with only the ceiling. Okay, and this is a vocal test in the blanket vocal booth with only the ceiling on. Okay, and this is a vocal test in the blanket vocal booth with only the ceiling on. Like I was saying earlier, I'll have to see once I have my vocalist here and we're doing some takes and whatnot, but I'm definitely going to try to record vocals in the vocal booth because out of these four, I think this one's my favorite. Okay, so now I'm testing either that or the full blanket. Hey, you guys can't see me at all, but yeah. Okay, so I hope you guys have enjoyed this little video. This has been really productive for me just because I've had just a ton of just a ton of like clutter in that closet, and I've been wanting that to be a vocal booth for a while now. Hopefully whenever I finally get Wade, my vocalist, over and we do some actual tracks in there, it'll sound usable, if not just better than anything else I've done so far, so I can just leave that a thing. So, but I mean, I think really what I've learned is that as long as you're not in a completely untreated room or just a really completely untreated small room, like a bigger room like this, may actually work okay. But it really just depends on what kind of vocals you're going for. That really small blanket booth would have been perfect for some voiceovers and like doing like audiobooks or something like that because the vocals sounded really warm and really dead and tight. So that would have been perfect for something like that. However, for like recording like singing and whatnot, I think the booth may actually turn out doing a little bit better of a job just because there wasn't such a buildup of the lower frequencies in there. And that's actually really, really good in my opinion. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please, like I said earlier, hit subscribe, hit that like button, leave in the comments what you thought was the best vocal take and what the best vocal situation was. I'd love to hear you guys' opinion. I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you guys later.